All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery with IIMFL and Smart Money Alliance. It's a beautiful Friday morning, March 12th, 2021. We will not have Zoom calls on Monday because of travel. So, again, we will not have Zoom calls on Monday. We're finding that the opportunity to go teach workshops is increasing. And so last week I was in Florida and did one, and then we have one in Dallas this week on Monday. But regardless, we'll be back on Tuesday. So we get together most weekday mornings at this time, 8 a.m. Central, or a minute or so before. And the point of it is to get together and support our distribution partners. We have three types of distribution partners. We have affiliates. It's free and easy to become an affiliate. They don't sell anything. They don't pay anything to become an affiliate. They're creating awareness of the Access to Capital program, referring folks in. The client receives a guaranteed minimum $100,000 capital raise. There's no upfront cost to enroll in the Access to Capital program. There's no minimum credit score, no minimum time in business to enroll either. So becoming an affiliate is pretty much a no-brainer for most people. And then we have educators. Educators focus on the Credit Boost program, educating on credit, teaching Credit 101, and you'll see that information here on Credit Boost. And then at the top of the hierarchy, we have our joint venture partners. Our joint venture partners are unique in a couple ways. Number one, we do a 50-50 revenue split, net revenue split with them. But the point I was going to make is they actually work with the clients. They actually do the mentoring. So affiliates don't work with clients. Educators don't work with clients. They create awareness and then they kind of get out of the way, where joint venture partners are actually mentoring clients. Paid $100 an hour to mentor those orphan clients. They write the key person policies, and they have the highest income potential. So there's a couple topics I want to address, I guess somewhat informally, just based upon feedback that I'm getting back from some of you, and then certainly we'll work on going through any questions, concerns, comments that you have that you put into the Q&A box of Zoom. So number one, the question comes up a lot. Well, how much do you fund clients? Or how much have you ever funded clients? Or, oh, you guys never fund clients. And that's actually a true statement. We are a technical advisor. Together, we're technical advisors. We are not lenders. Yes, we're in the process of becoming an SBA lender, but that's future tense, not present tense. So as of current, we do not lend money. So we don't lend money to anyone. So what's our success rate of lending money? 0%. We don't lend money. We are a technical advisor. What do? We take people through this 4-week process to do three things: to improve their financial literacy, improve their credit, and help them have access to capital, and that's by having a loan package. Through the Access to Capital program, we guarantee that they'll raise at least $100,000. But keep in mind, we do not fund anyone. So we don't keep people who are credible from getting funded. And we don't help, we can't get people funded that are not credible enough. So, because if one's true, the opposite has to be true. And so our guarantee is valid and legitimate, because some people say, well, you're making $100,000 guarantee. That's too good to be true. That's a scam. Well, that just shows that they're not literate in our proposition to the client, because it would be unrealistic if we said, hey, sign up for free, and oh, by the way, we guarantee you $100,000 in X days. Well, that's too good to be true, because different people have different starting points, different credibility factors. What we say is, enroll in the Access to Capital program. We will defer the refundable deposit until after your first capital raise, so you don't have to come up with that up front. And we'll explore more on that in a moment. I know that's a sensitive topic for some of you. And then we will work with you until you've achieved at least $100,000 capital raise. And it says in the agreement, based upon your circumstances and your compliance, that the timeline could vary of how long that takes, because it's just too good to be true to think that we just tell people, oh, sign up, and somehow magically the bank is going to ignore your lack of credibility and just hand over $100,000 in 30 days. I mean, that's nonsense. So what I believe, and hopefully what you believe, is that we can take anyone from where they're at now and help them navigate to get to where they need to be to raise at least 100,000. Now that's the minimum. Can we help people raise more than 100,000? Of course. We have a vested interest in helping them raise as much as they want to raise, but we are not the lender. People will often come back and ask for specific success stories or specific timelines. And you'll see that organizationally, we're hesitant to give that out because you know what people hear? They hear that and they say, I want that. Oh, you got that client $114,000 in less than 30 days. If you did it for him, I want that too. Well, you're not as credible, right? And so we have to educate people on who we are and what we do and the process. That's the key. We're selling them assistance with this process. But as soon as you start quoting specific timelines, specific dollar amounts, they're not going to hear anything else. They're going to latch on to that, and they're going to expect that. And they may get funding, more funding or more quick funding, but they may not. And we can't create false expectations. We need to do the right thing. We need to educate clients properly. We need to create realistic expectations. And those expectations should be consistent with our written agreement. That's where the biggest rub happens, is clients will make up their own expectations. It's almost like they'll disregard the written agreement we have with them and create their own agreement in their head, and then they're expecting that nonsense. And then when we're not adhering to their psychological agreement, which is different than our written agreement, then they get all mad. But it's like, well, we didn't agree to that. We didn't say that. We don't do it that way. But that's what they want. So that's why it's so important that we have written agreements with clients. We should be held accountable, of course, to follow what we promised to do, and they need to do what they promised to do. So so that's point one, is just keep in mind, we are not the lender. And we don't keep people from getting funding, and we can't get people funding that they don't qualify for. I was speaking with one of our joint venture partners yesterday, and it was kind of a follow-up call to last week, and he was kind of disappointed. He signed up and he wanted 250,000. I just want my 250,000. Well, I don't want to mention his name, so I'll just say, sir, you don't yet qualify for 250,000 from what we can tell. We're going to have to get you from where you're at to where you need to be, which is fine. We'll do that. We promise to do that. It's our pleasure to do that. But no, based upon what we see right now about your file, you do not qualify for 250,000. Well, that's what I want. Well, you don't qualify for it. Just because you signed up with us, again, doesn't mean that the bank says, well, I don't really care that person's credit or cash flow or collateral, the 3 C's, none of which are strong. Oh, sure, I'll give you 250,000. That's what's unrealistic. What we do is very legitimate, very credible, very ethical. Creating unrealistic expectations that disregards kind of the laws of finance, if you will, is nonsense. And then that's really what's unethical. So we don't want to do that. Now, let's go back to the second point. So the access to capital, we're going to break this down into a couple pieces. Is there an upfront cost to enroll in the access to capital program? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, is there a deferred refundable deposit as part of the access to capital program? There is, and it's clearly stated in the agreement as well. It's $2,500, but it's deferred. It used to not be. We used to collect $2,500 from every client up front before we would start to work on their file. But that was a barrier for a few reasons. So now access to capital is deferred. They do not pay anything up front. They do not pay $2,500 up front. They pay $0 up front. Does that mean that the deferred refundable deposit doesn't exist? No, it does exist. And the language in the agreement and the intent is, hey, we will wait until we get you your first tranche or round of capital. And at that time, then we're going to invoice you and you need to pay the refundable deposit. It's fully refundable once they've gone through the program. And everything I'm describing today, just to caveat, is a summary of the agreement. The agreement is what rules. But once they've worked with us to raise at least $100,000, they've paid their performance fee of that $100,000 capital raise, then they get their refundable deposit back, which is great. And we have 100% compliance with refunding the refundable deposit once the client has met that criteria. Okay, so we've agreed there is no upfront cost to enroll in Access to Capital. We've agreed and clarified there certainly is a deferred refundable deposit, but we're going to wait until the first round of capital. Now the question becomes, well, when will I get my first round of capital? Based upon how we have evolved and improved our processes, now typically we're going to take them for their first tranche of financing between weeks 2 and 3. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because at that point, we have their personal financial statement. They've done the soft credit pull. We've learned enough about their baseline situation, their 3 C's, cash flow, creditworthiness, and collateral, to be able to make recommendations of what the first tranche of financing would be, what they qualify for, what's the most likely the best fit. It's not until we finish the entire 4-week process that we finish the loan package and we're ready to go for the larger business loan. So it's certainly true to understand that since we're working at between weeks 2 and 3 for the first tranche of financing, it's their personal characteristics that's going to be the biggest determiner of what source of capital they get for the FTF. Because our goal is, to get them as much as they qualify for, but it's essentially to get that refundable deposit funded. That's what we try to do, is we want to get the refundable deposit funded between weeks 2 and 3. That gets you paid, it gets the referral source paid, and the clients now get some skin in the game. We've covered that the refundable deposit's $2,500. So we will guarantee, and we'll go into more detail because I know this is some scrutiny under it. We'll guarantee them a minimum of $2,500 FTF, first tranche financing. Certainly could be more than that. It's often more than that, but it's not based upon how good you are or how good we are. It's based upon the credibility of the applicant. So sometimes applicants will come in, they'll start the Access to Capital program. They'll get here to week 2. The mentor will help gather the data, especially the personal financial statement and the soft credit pull authorization. And then they don't qualify for anything more than $2,500. So to clarify, I'm not saying that no one qualifies more than $2,500. That's not a true statement. I'm saying that the people that only get approved for $2,500 sometimes can be frustrated with that. Well, I apologize. They weren't my kid. I don't have power of attorney over them. I've not managed their credit since the day they turned 18. I've not managed their budget, their income and expenses, and how they paid bills. I've not helped them get jobs or create revenue. I mean, they bring whatever baggage and whatever choices they've made in life to our program. They can't hold me or you or the program responsible if they've not managed their life very well financially. But so the first tranche financing is going to be based upon them, their circumstances. Oh, do I have to have good credit to get first tranche financing? Absolutely not. You can have terrible credit and we can get first tranche financing. Oh, my business is pre-launch. Do I have to be in business a certain amount of time to get FTF, to get first tranche financing? No, there's no minimum. But of course, the 3 C's always dictate the amount of capital: creditworthiness, cash flow, and collateral, just like we learned in school. So if we have a client that, based upon how they've managed their life, not because I haven't been managing their life since they turned 18, and I'm assuming you haven't either. So whatever decisions and whatever life influences has happened to them, they come to us. And if all they qualify for is the $2,500 loan, then we extend them a $2,500 loan. We issue loans at 0% interest through a third-party organization to cover the loan package. Anyone that wants to look at that as being predatory, That's nonsense. I mean, these are people that probably don't even deserve to get in some cases, don't even deserve to get an extension of credit because they've managed their finances so poorly. But we still have second chance financing to get anyone at least $2,500. Now, the 0% interest is about as good as you can get, right? I mean, we've worked with a third party to offer 0% interest. So we're extending credit often to people that couldn't get credit otherwise at a remarkably low rate, 0% interest. Now, do they need to make payments on that $2,500 loan that covers the refundable loan package? The refundable deposit that covers a loan package? Of course, that's how loans work, right? If you go buy a car, you borrow money and they expect you to make payments on the car. You buy a house, you get a mortgage, they expect you to make payments on the mortgage, right? That's how loans work. Now, the benefit of taking out loans and paying on time is it further helps improve your credit profile, so it shows responsibility. So I know that some of you have some that are mentoring, have some clients. So they get to week 2. We do the personal financial statement, the soft credit pull authorization, and based upon how they've managed their life, which again is not your burden or my burden. We haven't been carrying them around as a little chick since they turned 18. That whatever has happened in their life is their baggage, not yours or mine. If all they qualify for is what we call the safety net loan, 0% interest, can't complain about that, $2,500 that covers their deferred refundable deposit, then they need to start making payments on that. Well, what if they can't even afford to make payments? Well, think about that for a second. So you've got a small business owner that's enrolled in a program designed to borrow money, and they're saying, well, I can't afford to pay it back. Well, what the hell? I mean, you're here to borrow money, but you can't afford to pay it back. Then you shouldn't borrow money that you can't afford to pay back. That's a recipe for disaster. Well, the argument could be, well, I'm pre-launch, I'm pre-revenue. I need to raise capital to be able to get my business going. Well, great. And we can help you do that. And we often talk about Gatti's Pizza. We opened a franchise client for Gatti's Pizza. Took $1.2 million. For that gentleman, which is my client, if we got him $100,000, it would have done nothing. He needed $1.2 million for signing the franchise, building out the space, buying the equipment, doing the marketing, having reasonable working capital. So I understand that in some cases clients are pre-revenue and they need a bigger chunk to even get started. And we teach about that in week 1, right? And in planning, it's called a resource plan. Well, if their business is not operating yet, and that's not a problem, then they need to be able to have some liquidity to get their business positioned to go for capital raise. So then that opens up this whole question. Oh, so there's other expenses? Well, yeah, you may need to file with the Secretary of State to form your business entity. Well, you said there's no upfront cost. Well, we're not the Secretary of State. Oh, you need to have a business bank account. Well, you said there's no upfront cost. Well, not for the Access to Capital program, but that doesn't mean that you don't need a business bank account to be a credible business. And so again, our agreement references this. We're not here to say that there's some magic formula that someone that's just stone cold broke can ignore all the mechanics of small business and finance and think that you can create a credible business entity for $0. So then you might say, well, how much is it going to cost? Well, it depends. Let's say that you don't have a website. We don't sell websites, but do you need a website to be deemed credible by many lenders? Not by all, but many. Yeah. Well, you could go develop one for your on your own and not pay anything, or you could go spend $10,000. But I think there's just some reasonableness that's missing in some of these conversations. So if all they qualify for is the $2,500, and we're issuing them credit through third party, 0% interest for people that wouldn't qualify for anything else, that's not like a curse, that's a blessing. We're extending them credit and helping them build their credit profile when no one else might have done so. They do need to be able to pay the $100 payments though. And so if they don't have any cash flow through their business and they don't have any cash flow personally to cover that loan, then they shouldn't take that loan out, right? There's a disconnect. You shouldn't borrow money that you can't afford to pay back. What's really beautiful about this is when we have clients that are in a difficult cash flow position, that is not a barrier. What we can do is put them on your team. They can become an affiliate. They can become a credit literacy educator. They can become a telemarketer for you, but we can help them generate income. I was talking to a client yesterday, stone cold broke. And frankly, he's pissed off at the world. He's living in a van. He's stone cold broke. I said, well, I'll tell you what, become an affiliate. It's free, won't cost you anything. Will help you get leads, make phone calls. And if you just sold or brought in one Capital Ready 3.0 client a month, that would bring in $2,500 into your business bank account, you would generate 50% profit of that, $1,250. I mean, that's infinitely more income than the gentleman has now and would give him working capital. So to finish this and get to your questions, remember there's only 3 places that money can come from to grow a business. It can be debt-based, money that we borrow that we promise to pay back. It can be equity-based, which is an equity injection, which could come out of the founder's pocket or a third party's pocket, or earned income, where in other words, we're generating income from our own doings, personally or business, and we reinvest it in. If we just have to work off of reasonableness. And if we educate people properly, then we'll all be on the same page. And that's why it's so important. I can tell you that I know that some clients, they really don't want to become more literate. They either think they know everything or maybe they do know everything, but often they're not, they just want the cash, right? Just give me the cash. I don't want to have to go through this 4-week lessons. Well, what we've learned is that when we rush people through and we don't take time to teach them about these important concepts, then they often perpetuate financial illiteracy. They make wrong assumptions. They make bad decisions. And so we need to help people save them from themselves in some cases. All right. So thank you, Mr. Barchi. Okay. So let's go through here. So again, just to hit this nail on the head. So is there an upfront cost for access to capital? No, not to enroll in the program. Might there be expenses in positioning your business to be credible for a capital raise? There might be, but it's not about us saying, oh, get prepared, we're going to nickel and dime you. It's the examples that I gave. Well, do you have a business bank account? No. Well, you need to have a business bank account. Most business lenders, not all, will only deposit money into a business bank account. So you won't even be able to get funded. And we've had a client that misled us, told us they had a business bank account. They didn't. We got them approved for funding. And then when it came time for funding, the lender's not a fool. They realized it was a personal account and they nixed the loan because the person misrepresented it. So this is not a too good to be true story that we're saying, hey, there might be incidental expenses incurred to get your business credible. But until we go through this 4-week process, we don't know how credible your business is, what you have in place, what you don't. And we're not here to sell them a bunch of things, right? They might not have some element, but if that type of if the best capital raise strategy for them doesn't require it, then why would we tell them to go do that? And you're going to see us take more of an emphasis on let's get clients through the 4-week process rather than asking them to make changes during the 4 weeks. Let's get through the 4 weeks, assess where they're at, and then at that point, make recommendations. QuickBooks is an example. So should a small business be able to generate an income statement and balance sheet? Yes. What if the business is pre-revenue? Yes, they still need to be able to produce at least a balance sheet. And I don't want to say debates, but I get into, I'll call it debates with clients that I mentor. They'll say, I'm pre-revenue, Tom. I don't have a balance sheet. That's bullshit. Why would I have a balance sheet? Well, just imagine that for a second. So we're going to go to the lender and say, we're not going to tell you what the assets of this business is. We're not going to tell you what the liabilities are. Just loan us some money. That lender's going to look at us like we're a freaking fool. No, they need to know more about the business, including what are the assets of the business and what are the liabilities. Well, the typical small business owner says, you don't get it, Tom. I don't have any assets. I don't have any liabilities. It's a brand new business. Well, you know that, but the lender doesn't know that. And chances are you do have some assets in the business. If you have a business bank account, you at least have some cash. But what we're going to try to do to minimize some of the friction with clients is ask them to do less, to make less changes, and instead let's gather what they do have, create the capital raise strategy, which we do. It's not your burden as a mentor. And then let them know, okay, if you want an SBA 7A Express loan, one of my favorites. We can, for brand new startups, we can get up to 150,000. It funds quickly, and it's very reasonable requirements. So let's say that's what they're going to go for. So we based upon the data of where they're currently at, which has been gathered through this 4-week process, then we'd say, okay, we recommend $150,000 SBA 7A Express loan. We've got some great relationships with some lenders that focus on that, some preferred relationships. But with that, you have one or two elements that's short. So we either need to address those voids, those gaps, those omissions, whatever you're missing to get approved, and fix that, or we're going to have to move to some other source of capital. So in summary, we're going to spend less time asking clients to do things rather than help them work through this process, gather the data where they're at, and then be able to articulate specific recommendations of what they would need and why. All right, Stefan asked about FTF. First tranche financing comes from many different sources. Some report on business credit, some report on personal credit, some don't report at all. How do I get access to the 4-week or training clients to go over for those 4 weeks? So I'm not sure if you're asking, Stefan, for the curriculum, which is defined here, or if you're asking for the clients. So I apologize. It's probably me, not you. I don't understand the question. All right. So Dion says, I had signed up a client on my Drive page. I'm not sure what a Drive page is, but that's okay. My Drive page recently just called me back and asked me if he works on his business credit score. Can he try to get a loan or something that is a favor for him as opposed to just getting capital that we offer him now? All right, so Dion, if you're mentoring clients, you should be having these discussions. If you're not mentoring the client, let the mentor handle it. What you'll want to do is let them know, certainly we will help them build their business credit profile. That's part of what we do, and we're more diligent now about that than we had been in the past to help them build their Paydex score done in Bradstreet, for example. And we don't charge them extra for it. It's just part of the process. But I think what you want to do, Dion, if you're an affiliate, which I believe you are, for affiliates, don't be consulting with the clients about the specifics of their capital raise, because you're probably going to mislead. You're going to either do one or two things. You're going to deter them from moving forward, which is unfortunate for them and you too, and us, or you're going to set unrealistic expectations, because again, it's this 4-week process that we gather the data that we can give them guidance based upon their mitigating factors. So as an affiliate, your focus is describing the process, but not creating a capital raise strategy for the individual client. And I know that's hard to do. A lot of you are very analytical and consultants, and some of you have really strong relationships with your clients, which is great. But what you're doing as an affiliate is simply creating awareness of the program and feeding them in to go through the 4-week process. It's not your responsibility to consult with them or create their capital raise strategy. And if you want to be more involved with the client, become a joint venture partner, and then you mentor them, and then you're much more involved. And so Stephanie, so I think what you're asking for is reviewing the content, and there's hyperlinks there. All right, thank you, Dion. Okay, who else has questions, comments, concerns about what we discussed today? It was a little bit more free form, but we just wanted to clarify, first of all, to summarize, we are a technical advisor. We're not a lender. We're in the process of becoming an SBA lender. We've actually formed the entity to become an SBA lender. We're getting all those pieces put together, but that's not in place now. So that's future tense. So we're not going to worry about that now. So as of now, we are not a lender. We don't loan any money, no money. What success rate do we have lending money? 0. We don't loan money to anyone. What we do is we're a technical advisor. What we do is stated in our agreement, and it's summarized on this page, right? And so that's what we do, and that's valuable. Now, I had a client this morning. She's like, she had one of those names. I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but I'll say she respectfully. She's like, well, what's the difference between you and the SBA? Well, a lot, right? We're a technical advisor. The SBA is a loan guarantor. It's apples and oranges. You know, if someone is so credible that they can just call up their banker and say, hey, I need $1 million. Can you put it in my account? Why in the world would they be talking to you and I? But in many cases, they don't have the package ready, the loan package. They don't have the business plan or the financial forecast. They don't have the 3 C's arranged. In many cases, there's voids, there's gaps. And that's why you can get so many referrals from bankers, because most people are not what we call capital ready. They need help becoming capital ready. And that's what you and I do. We're technical advisors, helping them become capital ready. So yes, we'll soon have, and we're working on it, the terms and conditions up on the website. So that way clients can go directly there. They'll be able to, you'll have a unique link. By going through your link, they'll get, it's the same terms and conditions, same agreement. They'll be able to complete that. It'll give you better reporting, better feedback, and they'll be able to get onboarded right away. So that is forthcoming. All right, and so Kwong's got a good question we'll wrap up with. So we have some clients that enroll in Access to Capital. They've signed the agreement. So they know that there's a $2,500 deferred refundable deposit. There's never a surprise on that. And they know that we'll wait until the first round of funding. And so then we have some clients that say, I don't really want to pay that $2,500. I'll just wait. It's like, well, no. Our staff and our mentors, our JV partners are mentoring you. We have people that are working to help you build your loan package. And what we promise to do is help arrange financing for that, so you don't have to pay for it out of pocket like people used to have to do. But you need to pay the $2,500 deferred refundable deposit for the loan package, and you get that back based on completing the process. Well, now I don't really want to do that. Well, you're in default then, right? Because as long as we can bring forth capital, so you're not having to pay that out of pocket, then we've met the criteria that we've promised to do. And if you're stubborn and say, no, then you're in default of the agreement, because we're not going to be able to build their loan package out if they've not paid the deposit. Now, I say that, and I've got a client this morning that is wiring money over today. This lady, nice lady, said, I don't want to use third-party financing. I'll just pay the $2,500 out of pocket, still refundable. And so that's perfectly fine as well. So the point is, they don't have to finance it. They can pay for it out of pocket if they want. But what we do is we promise that we can get them financing regardless of how credible or lack of credible that they are. And so Scott, yes, we'll work on that next week. So some of you have submitted some questions about specific clients, and we'll work on those next week. So I think we've covered everything that we planned to today. So we will not be together on Monday because of travel. Got a workshop in Dallas, excited about, but we'll be back next Tuesday morning. So thanks everyone. We'll be assigning cohorts this weekend. So if you're ready to mentor clients, make sure we have you flagged as such. And this weekend you'll be assigned, and the cohorts will start on Monday. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.